Yeah, it'll be on Fairfield Sound Channel. No, youtube.com/user/Fairfield Sound.
The light's on. Light's on. How's that? How's that? How's that? How's that?
Testing.
I didn't have it very well last time, so let's see if I can do this better. My baby sister, how's that? How's that? How's that? Is that good? So my baby sister has been dealing with Parkinson's for about 15 years. And yesterday she got her second of 2 brain implants. It's been around for about 10 years, and they plant an electrode in each side, and then they have a control, and the wires are going up. As I was writing this poem, I thought of her at one point, and so I'll dedicate this poem to her. It's called If the Heart. If the heart hangs inside the cradle of the chest like a child, and the braided muscles dangle down like long, colorful scarves, ribbons, and ropes around it, before spilling into the legs below, then every step we take, however ungainly, no matter how much we falter and stumble, is an act of grace that pulls on the ropes and makes the ribbons and scarves flutter and dance, and sets the cradle rocking for the child inside our chest who loves to sing. When I got to that part about no matter how much we falter and stumble, there was something else going on there, and she helped me finish that poem. How can we possibly travel? How can we possibly travel out of ourselves when the only place we ever are is here? And yet, here we are, once again traveling in this place made up by the mind. Sometimes setting out at age 3 or 4 with nothing but the walking stick of the mind and our heart in a sack over a shoulder, building the road before us, one brick at a time, never to return home. The home for us is, and always will be, here. Even the most plaintive, hard-worn scraps a kind of singing. So we learn, lovers that we are, to lean against them, as against a long, familiar member of the choir. All those certain peculiarities of pitch and tone, old tattered bath towel, for heaven's sake, dead cricket turning to dust in a corner, tiptoeing themselves forward into the heart's ear, that place inside us where the singing never stops. And here's some slightly longer poems. 3-4 years ago, I guess this was, interesting, this was several months into the pandemic, I guess, 2021. The Feast. All week, flocks of waxwings wheeling in at dawn to feed on the silver-gray, berry-laden branches of the neighbor's 50-foot cedar. The tree already lit up by berries, now lit up by the birds also. The waxwings popping from limb to fruit-heavy limb as if tables laid out at a banquet. Their constant forays into the surrounding trees, elm, oak, walnut, hackberry, white poplar, a welcome break to mingle with all the fellow attendees and let the food settle before sweeping back into the tables for more. As if the tree came into being partly to be a banquet, the birds to show up and feed, and we to carry our breakfast out morning after morning to our own table beneath the pear and sit and watch and eventually begin to sing ourselves, a song within a song within a song, all of us singing, all of us part of the feast. This is a father poem, although it's a little bit hidden there. He appears at the end. My dad passed away in 2019 at the age of 93, so it's called Beneath the Shears. Speeding west on 80, mid-afternoon, the woman on the podcast about trauma and our difficulty sometimes to heal, being led like a tourist down through the once familiar layers of her psyche, grown suddenly foreign to those lethal pruning shears of self-hatred where the show then ended, running out of time. 44 years ago, asked to leave by my first wife shortly after my first son's first birthday, staying at a friend's house 120 miles away to help with room and board. I pruned his young apple trees so severely 3 died. The weight the podcast woman left us with, I carried simply another 10 miles or so, unable at the moment to feel my way deeper either. You can most easily see it in small children, this garden, this unfettered blossoming of innocence and joy. And we were all small once, weren't we? A garden we so often cast ourselves out of these days, when we take the bite and the pruning in earnest once again begins. What a gift then, tooling down the interstate, to have my 2.5, 3-year-old beaming face push up out of those shadows and keep me company for a ways, here in the austere landscape of my 65-year-old one. So now, gather together with me around this hospice bed, where a father lies struggling to breathe, and think of it as the soul, radiant, playful, perhaps even a bit shy, peeking out like a little boy more and more these days from under that furrowed brow. Step away from that a little bit. That's the first time I read that one in public, so I almost didn't make it. First light. As if I awoke as a small plot of ground ready for planting, and they took root inside me. This morning at first light, peculiar twitch in the willowy, pale purple buddleia panicles above the sill. Brief flourish into the tenuous sea green stems of Russian sage. Then this delicate suggestion of gestures through thick, leathery rhododendron leaves. And all day I am a walking garden, haunted by longing. I forgot to look and see how I was doing. I think I've got maybe room for 2 more. I'll give it a shot here. This morning in the pre-dawn stillness, twilight just a faint rumor on the horizon, and a robin up early at work on his song. Perhaps it's simply the hour, but the tune somehow more nuanced than I remember, with richer undertones, the turns of phrase occasionally bent or twisted slightly in unexpected and surprising ways. For some time I listened through an open window to the bird, perhaps as enraptured as I make and remake his song. And only when the light begins in earnest to spill itself once again into this cup we call the world does he eventually falter and fall silent. As if, try as he might, in the end such a solitary and introspective exploration can only be properly mined in the dark. And I'll end with a poem called Apparition. And thank you all for coming, and thank you, Suzanne, so much for putting us all together. It's really wonderful. Apparition. There is a stone in the heart of the garden, large as a watermelon among the catmint, coreopsis, and blackberry lily. Thick calcite rind broken open ages ago by some unseen geologic hand. Exposed hollow, weathered yellow iron oxide sheen of crystals bedded like fruit within. And certain times of year, evening sun glancing off a window pane to bathe the stone in light, an apparition appears. The Virgin Mother, not in her habitual blue, but draped in gold. Her bowing figure cocooned in that white halo of light. It is small as apparitions go, barely 5 inches tall, and soon recedes back to wherever these things abide, leaving the garden to its lesser saints, the robins, butterflies, and bees. Thank you.